everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Collection Comic of the Week. The book I have chosen for this week is one that I literally, at the time of this recording, purchased last week. It is Spider-Man's Tangled Web, number 14. I just went to Cape Comic Con in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Have a vlog posted, check that out too for more footage from that convention. It was a really fun time, a really cool convention. Loved it. Met a lot of cool people. It was awesome. But one of my finds there was I just was looking through went to a comic vendor, was looking through a long box, and this was the first thing that I just pulled out. And as many of you know, wrestling is a big part of this channel. And it looked like a wrestling poster on the cover. And I remembered that there was a wrestling-related Marvel book from the early part of the millennium. And come to find out, this was it, because the wrestler Raven, a.k.a. Scott Levy, wrote this book along with Brian Azzarello, another writer. So this was a book that I'd always heard about and wanted to check out, but never could find, and just so happened to find it at this comic book convention. So definitely well worth the $1 that I paid for this book. Other than the wrestling portion of this, I just want to talk about Spider-Man's Tangled Web itself was a Spider-Man series about the kind of like the background and the other things that were going on in the world around Spider-Man that Spider-Man affected, or would go on effect, or just everything, hence the Tangled Web. And for this one, this is the story of the wrestling promotion and the wrestler that Spider-Man would fight, and the promoter of the group that would eventually, in Spidey's canon, screw him over, get robbed, lead to Uncle Ben's death, all the things that would lead to him becoming Spider-Man, the superhero, when he wanted to be a wrestler at first. This is the story of the wrestler that he would beat in that match, and the wrestler that, just the wrestling promotion itself. So, yeah, it's a really neat book, and let's check it out. Really, this is just this cover's awesome. I mean, and I'm biased because I'm a big wrestling fan, but yeah, love the attention to the card subject to change without notice. Something that for anybody who just follows this channel for the comic book content, this is put at the end of every wrestling commercial for a wrestling event, or every wrestling poster, kind of to absolve the promoter from any sort of well, so-and-so didn't show up and we want our money back. No, he said card subject to change. Brian Azzarello, one of my favorite comic writers. Scott Levy, a.k.a. Raven. But, just really, really awesome. This was made not long after 9/11, because they had these on the books for quite a while. I believe at least a year since the 9/11 attacks. Open this up. Got milk in there, and this is I'm known as a shooter. Yeah, that's the wrestler talking. Shooter works a match for real. My business is wrestling. And again, kind of giving some context for the non-wrestling fan that maybe checking this out. Work a match is like doing the match. Work is it's part of the show. Shooter is it's real. So if the person's a shooter, it means he's actually a legit badass. But if you're just a worker in wrestling terminology, it just kind of means that you're there to just to put on the show. Going a little rough on his opponent is the Crusher. I hurt people. Only real beef I have with this is calling him Hogan. I mean, and that's not me trying to say anything bad about Hulk Hogan, but it's maybe a little too on the nose. I get they probably went with that because the casual reader would associates the name Hogan with pro wrestling, but maybe just a wee bit on the nose there for my tastes. And he went into business for himself and hit him for real during the match. And the promoter calling Crusher Hogan in to the office. He's telling him that he can't really afford to pay him anymore. Can't make the payroll. He's getting accept Global's offer. Global is kind of in the WWE F at the time, but later become E position of it's a worldwide sort of wrestling promotion, at least in terms of this story. But much like in the actual, in actual wrestling, there was a lot of these legit badass wrestlers from the old days, but then when WWF was taking over the world, they got signed, and the badass wrestlers got signed, and then just kind of got cartoony gimmicks, and some made a good career of it, some, ruined their careers because of it. So, they're kind of playing off of this with this Spider-Man story, and Crusher's kind of being the lone holdout, not wanting to, in his mind, sell out his legit badassness to go potentially play make-believe and, get a bad gimmick in the big time. So he wants to stay loyal to this smaller group. Crusher's going back home to his wife to tell him, about how he's not taking the offer because of his pride, and she's very angry about it. Yeah. Kind of having some marital problems, some Dark Side of the Ring shit going on here. Telling his wife to shut up. So, yeah, this is some definite Dark Side of the Ring shit here. If anybody knows about the Dark Side of the Ring, it would be Raven. So, this is more like you really got to read this book. So, Crusher has his epiphany, and Crusher's idea is he wants to fight the fans. And since he's a badass, he can fight the fans and fight, all the fans are going to think they can just whip his ass because, quote unquote, wrestling's fake. But since Crusher's got legitimacy and he can kind of be that bad guy and challenge the fans and get some buzz going for the promotion. And he wants to do an open challenge where he challenges the fans. And he's getting money from the mob boss Hammerhead. We would later become, in terms of the Spider-Man lore, one of Spider-Man's villains, gets money from Hammerhead to do this little endeavor to drum up interest in the promotion. And goes out there, suitcase full of money, challenges anyone, wins, and eventually this one answers the challenge. And that is where the Crusher story, at least for this book, ends. And, got some bonus stuff here in the back. But that's where the actual real story ends, or the story of this book, I should say. And we all know kind of what happened with Spidey from there. That was Spider-Man's Tangled Web,
issue 14.
I love this book, but I'm a huge wrestling fan. I can see how if maybe a non-wrestling fan were to read it, they would either be really intrigued and kind of feel like they're learning about this whole new world, or they'd think it's maybe a little too insidery. But I still think it's got a good concept. I think, you know, the wrestler Raven that contributed to it, he's known for outside-the-box thinking and taking aspects of, like, other art to put into wrestling. So there's a person that's going to write a comic book about wrestling and tie it into the world of Spider-Man, Raven would be the perfect choice. My only real gripe is the name Hogan is a little too on the nose, and I find it a little insulting that even though it's two different characters, it's Crusher Hogan in the comic book and Bonesaw McGraw in the Raimi Spider-Man films. Bonesaw McGraw was played by Randy Savage, and the fact that, you know, they have a wrestler named Hogan that was kind of in the role that Randy Savage was in, I'm not really a big fan of that, but it is what it is. But yeah, really cool book, and I'm glad I found it. Do you also own that book? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of comic books, but from the world of pro wrestling, gaming, anime, and all things geek culture. Follow me on social media, Facebook.com/AthleticGeekA9, Twitter @Athletic_Geek89, Instagram @AthleticGeekA9, and if you'd like to help contribute to this channel financially, I am on Patreon, Patreon.com/AthleticGeek89. And that, I'm out. Y'all be cool. Later.